everyone! Welcome back to Receipts Ready. This one seriously made my blood boil. So I thought my sister asking me to be her maid of honor was the sweetest thing ever. Turns out, she just wanted a front row seat to destroy my life. I'm still shaking as I type this. Let me give you some background. I'm Emma, and I'm 29. My sister Chloe is 26 and has always been the golden child. Growing up, she got everything handed to her while I had to work for scraps of attention. But I thought we'd move past all that drama. 2 years ago, I met David at a coffee shop. He's 31 and absolutely perfect. Kind, funny, successful lawyer, the whole package. We got engaged last Christmas and I was over the moon. For once in my life, something amazing was mine and mine alone. When Chloe announced her engagement to Marcus 6 months later, I was genuinely happy for her. Marcus seemed nice enough, worked in finance, and they looked good together. She asked me to be her maid of honor, and I said yes immediately. I thought this was our chance to finally bond as sisters. The first red flag should have been how obsessed she became with meeting David. She kept insisting we all hang out together. Double dates, family dinners, game nights. I thought she was just being inclusive. Then the wedding planning started and things got weird. She wanted my opinion on everything, but only when David was around. She'd call him directly about venue ideas or ask his thoughts on her dress. When I confronted her about it, she said she just valued his opinion because he had good taste. But the real wake-up call came 3 weeks before her wedding. I was at the bridal shop for my final fitting when I overheard her on the phone. She was telling someone that everything was going according to plan. So I'm standing there in this hideous pink bridesmaid dress, trying not to eavesdrop. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She told whoever was on the phone that David was almost ready to make the switch. I confronted her immediately. Asked her what she meant by making the switch. She got all flustered and claimed she was talking about Marcus switching jobs. But I knew that wasn't true because Marcus loved his job. That night I went home and really started paying attention to David's behavior. He'd been distant lately, working late more often, and his phone was always face down. When Chloe texted him, he'd respond immediately, but took hours to reply to me. I decided to do some investigating. I checked our phone bill online and found dozens of calls between David and Chloe. Long calls, sometimes lasting over an hour. And they were happening when he claimed to be working late. 2 weeks before the wedding, I followed David when he said he was going to the gym. Instead, he drove straight to Chloe's apartment. I sat in my car for 2 hours watching him not come out. When he finally did, his hair was messy and his shirt was wrinkled. I was devastated, but I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through his phone while he was sleeping. What I found destroyed me. Months of text messages between them. Her telling him how much better she was for him than I was. Him saying he was starting to see what she meant. Plans to be together after her wedding to Marcus was over. And the worst part was seeing him call me clingy and boring while telling her she was everything he'd ever wanted. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The plan was for her to marry Marcus, then divorce him 6 months later and take half his money. Meanwhile, David would break up with me right after her wedding. Then they'd wait a respectable amount of time before going public. I screenshot everything and sent it to myself. Then I sat there staring at my phone, trying to figure out what to do. That's when I realized something. They had no idea I knew. So I decided to let them think their plan was working perfectly. I kept acting like the clueless sister and fiancé they thought I was. But behind the scenes, I was planning my revenge. First, I reached out to Marcus. I invited him for coffee under the pretense of planning a surprise for Chloe. Poor guy had no idea his future wife was using him as a paycheck. I showed him all the screenshots and watched his world crumble. Marcus was furious, but he was also smart. He suggested we let the wedding happen and expose them in front of everyone. I loved this idea because Chloe had always cared more about appearances than anything else. The week before the wedding, I played my part perfectly. I helped with last-minute preparations, smiled at the rehearsal dinner, and even gave a sweet maid of honor speech about how perfect Chloe and Marcus were together. David squeezed my hand during the speech, probably thinking about how soon he'd be rid of me. Meanwhile, Marcus was setting up his own surprise. He hired a private investigator to document everything and changed all his financial accounts to protect his assets. He also had his lawyer draft papers showing that any adultery would void the prenup Chloe thought she'd gotten him to skip. The wedding day arrived and I was ready. I did Chloe's hair, helped her into her dress, and listened to her gush about how perfect her life was about to become. She had no idea how right she was, just not in the way she expected. The ceremony was beautiful. Marcus played his part perfectly, saying his vows with a straight face while knowing exactly what kind of person he was marrying. David sat in the audience looking smug, probably counting down until he could dump me. But the real show started at the reception. After dinner, Marcus stood up to give his groom's speech. He thanked everyone for coming and talked about how much this day meant to him. Then he said he had a special surprise for his new bride. That's when he pulled out a tablet and started playing a slideshow. But instead of cute couple photos, it was screenshots of all the messages between Chloe and David. The entire room went silent as they read her calling Marcus a meal ticket and David talking about how much he wanted her. So the whole reception just erupted into chaos. Chloe started screaming that it was all fake while David tried to sneak out the back. But Marcus had thought of everything. He'd stationed his groomsmen at all the exits. I stood up and announced that I had my own surprise. I took the microphone and told everyone exactly how long this had been going on. How my own sister had used her wedding planning to steal my fiancé. How they'd planned to use Marcus for his money, then dump him. The look on Chloe's face was priceless. She went from screaming that we were lying to begging everyone to let her explain. But there was no explaining away months of evidence. David tried to grab my arm and tell me we could work through this. I pulled away and told him he could work through it with someone who wasn't me. Then I slipped off my engagement ring and dropped it in his champagne glass. Our parents were mortified. Dad actually apologized to Marcus and offered to pay for the wedding since Chloe had wasted everyone's time. Mom was crying and kept saying she didn't raise us to act like this. But the best part was watching their plan completely backfire. Marcus had the marriage annulled the next week since it was based on fraud. Chloe didn't get a penny and actually had to pay back the money he'd spent on the wedding. She also lost her job because apparently sleeping with engaged men while planning to defraud your husband doesn't look good to employers. David kept trying to contact me for weeks, claiming Chloe had seduced him and he'd made a mistake. But I blocked him everywhere and moved on with my life. 6 months later, I heard through family that Chloe and David tried to make it work, but broke up after 2 months. Turns out, when you build a relationship on lies and betrayal, it doesn't have a strong foundation. Who could have seen that coming? I'm doing amazing now. I'm in therapy working through the family trauma, and I've started dating someone new who actually respects me. Chloe is still trying to get back in everyone's good graces, but the family pretty much cut her off. Sometimes people ask if I feel bad about ruining her wedding day. But honestly, she ruined it herself the moment she decided to betray everyone who loved her. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. I honestly can't believe the audacity of some people. Using your own sister's wedding to steal her fiancé is just next level evil. But I'm so glad they got exactly what they deserved. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for being here.